Hello and welcome to another edition of the Sports Resort. This is your home for all things sports. I'm your host, Gannon Cornley, along with my co-host here, Toby Todd. I want to welcome you guys in onto another edition of the Sports Resort. Now, you guys, for most of you guys, are kind of used to how we're getting to do things here, but we are going to be changing a couple of things up. So how we're going to be doing it is we're going to be doing it based on a kind of big game or big week notice. So no more kind of just the regular week to week with the full episodes. They're going to be a lot more broken down, which I think a lot of you guys will like because it will shorten up the videos and it will actually make the content a lot smoother. The transitions a lot easier. So we're just kind of this week going to focus solely on the NFL season and specifically week 3. All the action that happened from Thursday all the way until Monday Night Football. So that is what this episode will be about. We will still have our regular shows about the MLB season, of course, as that's getting so close to the postseason. College football is still in there, and obviously we have our fight nights and tennis and golf news every now and then, and of course soccer as well. So we'll still be giving you guys all the full sports action, but they will just kind of be broken down into their each own separate videos. So for this week, again, it's going to be only the NFL, which is what we really want to talk about this week, because it was a very action-packed week 3, let me tell you. You guys know my team did their thing. So we're just going to jump right into it, as it was very, very entertaining this past week. It all started in Carolina with the Panthers taking down the Houston Texans 24-9. The Panthers are now improving to 3-0 for the first time in a very long time. Unfortunately for them, it did come with a cost, as they lost their top running back, Christian McCaffrey, and as well as their star cornerback, J.C. Horn. He is going to be put on IR. They haven't officially ruled his season out, but it sounds it's heading that way. And for the Texans, obviously now they're dropping to 1-2 after Tyrod Taylor being ruled out, David Mills coming in, and unfortunately unable to get the start or get the win.
Yeah, that's a tough start for Davis Mills. This is a quarterback I think a lot of people thought may have been the starter week 1 with the Deshaun Watson situation. Of course, Tyrod Taylor looked really good through about a week and a half. And Mills has been thrown in against the likes of Myles Garrett, Brian Burns, Hassan Reddick, Jadeveon Clowney, and the likes.
Easy stuff.
And the end result, of course, is 9 points from the Texans. A rather uneventful game. You could really tell based on the broadcast and how many times they showed us McCaffrey's hamstring that there wasn't a whole lot else going on in the game. It is important to talk about Sam Darnold leaving New York, going to Carolina, getting off to a 3-0 start. And I didn't even have to go back and do research. I know that's something he never did with the Jets. So you feel good for Sam Darnold. The Panthers, they look like a fairly well-rounded team, I would say. Matt Rule doing his thing as the coach. Of course, overcoming these injuries now is going to be a little bit tough. They made a quick move to go get C.J. Henderson, traded from Jacksonville, former first-round pick. And as good as the Panthers look, we have to remember they're in a division with the Saints, who they've already beaten, in a division with the Bucs. So still a long ways to go. But I'm actually more interested in you as the Titans fan, who had a pretty bold prediction about the Texans before we came on air. If you'd like to take it away.
I sure will. Before we move on to the next game, I am now, this is assuming Tyrod Taylor is completely out for quite a while, not going to come back 100% healthy. But I think this year's Texans team is last year's Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they're going to win week 1, which they did, a divisional game at that, and then I think they're going to lose out. I am predicting right now that the Houston Texans will finish the season 1-16. Put it on record.
Yep. So you've got that to look forward to, Houston. Number 1 pick, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. And so as we're moving on to our next game, Connor has joined the podcast. What's going on, Sir Connor?
Hello. Good to be back.
Yes, sir. Coming back. Only audio this time.
The struggle bus lifestyle is real.
He's so ashamed of the Chiefs that he couldn't show his face.
It made me quite sad.
Well, we have quite a bit of football, so we'll talk about other games in just that one. How's that?
I think we can handle that.
Good deal. Well, we're going to move on to the next one. So we had the Washington football team going head-to-head against the Buffalo Bills. An absolute massacre, to say the least. Buffalo won that game 41-23 to improve to 2-1. Josh Allen, 5 total touchdowns. Cole Beasley, what a game he had. Actually, Tyler Heineke actually didn't play too bad for Washington, obviously unable to come up with the victory. Their defense could not stop the thing, as Washington now is the team that won the NFC least last year is starting to look like the least of them all.
Yeah, I mean, Heineke did about as well as you can expect in that situation. I mean, he can't turn the ball over, but I mean, he did his best. He's just out there trying his best. I mean, he could have scored 35. They still would have lost, obviously. Like, what are you going to do if your defense lets them put up 43?
Yeah. And how about the revival of Emmanuel Sanders, man?
Yeah, Emmanuel Sanders killed it. I have him on my fantasy team in one league. He raked in the points. Stephon Diggs kind of took a step back to let Sanders and Beasley shine. So that was kind of, nice selfless attitude by Stephon Diggs. I assume he didn't throw a temper tantrum and punch a kicking net.
No.
So, I mean, Josh Allen spreading the love around. Josh Allen looked phenomenal.
He's good. Speaking of guys who are good, there was some action going on in Cleveland between the Cleveland Browns and the Chicago Bears. Cleveland winning that game 26-6 to improve to 2-1. Myles Garrett, what a day for that man. 4.5 sacks. Kareem Hunt also went off. In addition to Nick Chubb, his overall dominant performance, the defense came up with 9 sacks on rookie quarterback Justin Fields' first career start. The Bears had 1 positive net yard in the game.
It's about as bad a start as you could possibly hope for. The good news for Justin Fields is it's only up from here, of course. Next game, I guarantee he gets over 1 net passing yard. And as much as I'd love to make this game about Myles Garrett, 4.5 sacks, Kareem Hunt having more rushing and receiving yards than the Bears had total yards, the return of OBJ, all the good stuff for Cleveland. This game is summed up in 3 words: fire Matt Nagy. We've seen enough of it, Bears. You're going to get your quarterbacks hurt and killed. It's time for him to go.
I would have to second that. Matt Nagy did a great job when he originally got there. Got them to the playoffs. They lost on a double doink miss by Cody Parkey, and it's been downhill ever since. It's tough sledding. But you know who has an amazing kicker? How about them Baltimore Ravens, man? Justin Tucker doing his thing, winning in grand fashion, NFL record 66-yard game winner as the Ravens knock off the Detroit Lions 19-17. An absolute ugly game. So many drops. From what I saw, lots of penalties, just unable to execute on both sides for really all 3 phases of the game. Offensive and special teams, besides Justin Tucker making the kick of a lifetime with a 66-yard field goal to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, everything has to come down to probably the second best kicker of all time out there setting the record. I mean, I don't know who else you'd even trust to attempt that kick, because you saw what happened in another game this week with the Jaguars when they attempted a kick that was a bit outside of their range. But yeah, I mean, props to him for making it. That was a ugly, ugly game. I feel bad for the Lions being 0-3 after a couple of just heartbreaking losses. But, I mean, they're going in the right direction at least. Usually they get blown out 3 times in a year. This time they're fighting and are 0-3. So credit to the Ravens, who are now 2-1 and threatening to win the division again.
Absolutely, yeah. They're very much in it. Their division's real interesting. The Steelers, after week 1, looked pretty good. Now they're falling off. The Bengals all of a sudden now are 2-1, and then the Browns are 2-1. So, yeah, the AFC North, like we thought, is going to be pretty entertaining this year.
Also, we had Gannon's favorite former quarterback, Carson Wentz, took on Gannon's favorite team, the Tennessee Titans. And, I'll let him tell you about how amazing Derrick Henry is at his job.
Oh, he's quite wonderful. He is quite wonderful. But as great as Derrick Henry is, I want to talk about another player, and that is my quarterback, number 17, Ryan Tannehill. This was by no means a perfect game, kind of an ugly fest, to be honest. But I loved how Ryan Tannehill managed the game, and not necessarily with his arm, but with his legs. Remember, he was a former wide receiver at Texas A&M. He can run, he has the legs, and I love how smart he is about his decisions. It's very strategic when he decides to run. A.J. Brown gets hurt very early in the game. Julio didn't have his best game. What does he do? He finds our rookie receivers. He finds some of our guys that are on our practice squad last year. Chester Rogers, former Colt, was thrown away by them. He scores a touchdown. He's throwing it to our tight ends. Anthony Ferguson also injured, so we got our backup tight ends in there. I mean, he's just finding ways to get guys involved. And then, of course, when you have the king doing his thing, it all bodes well for the Titans. Another thing I'm also excited about for my squad is our defense is actually looking semi-respectable. Far more pressures on the quarterback than we had at this time last year. We already have more sacks by far than what we had last year. And that's not even and keep in mind, Rashard Weaver, who we drafted in the 4th round this past year, injured. Bud Dupree, our big signing on defense over the course of the offseason, still not 100% healthy. So things are looking up for the Titans. They have some relatively favorable matchups coming up, so we'll just have to see how they – yes, we play the Jets. We'll have to see how they stack up in those games. But I'm very excited. The one team that did actually get the best of the Titans, though, were the Arizona Cardinals, and they actually got the best of the Jacksonville Jaguars as well, winning their game 31-19. Another tough day for Trevor Lawrence. Just so many turnovers, just way too many. But on the other hand, Kyler Murray, what a start to the season he's having. I mean, he didn't throw for any touchdown passes, but his ability to run, control the game, and really minimize overall mistakes on the offensive end is just phenomenal. Finding so many, I mean, Christian Kirk so far this season seemed like his favorite target so far. And then you backed it up with DeAndre Hopkins and AJ Green. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah, I mean, AJ Green being back and actually producing for a team that can win games is awesome. I couldn't be happier for him. And Kyler Murray just proving everyone who said he was too short wrong. The guy has been killing it. He's a hero of Gannon's for that very reason. But on the other end, Trevor Lawrence, he's got to figure it out. I mean, he will, but 7 interceptions through 3 games, it's just not good. I mean, he'll figure it out. Maybe it's a coaching thing where you have a college coach and a college quarterback trying to run college offense. But the Jaguars, like I mentioned in the Justin Tucker performance, the Cardinals tried a field goal from a length too far for their kicker, and the Jaguars took it the other way, and you thought maybe they had a chance, and then just turnovers killed them. So credit to Kyler Murray. They're 3-0 and looking like the favorites. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Another team that got back on track, New Orleans Saints, in their victory, their 20-13 victory in New England. A dominant performance by their defense, got a pick 6 off the rookie, Mac Jones, threw 3 interceptions on the day. A couple of them, at least one of them I know was not his fault, but a couple other ill-advised throws that you could say, not his best day. Obviously a very tough opponent to be playing in your just a third start in your NFL career. So tough day for the rookie, but I think it was more about the Saints for me, how Jameis Winston was able to bounce back after they looked so great in week 1, then just had a what the heck are you doing in week 2, and then able to come back against a pretty well-disciplined team usually in the New England Patriots.
The Saints have their formula for winning already. If you go into the box score and look at it, Jameis Winston not trying to throw the ball over the field is the key to the Saints winning offensively when they can let Kamara and Tony Jones Jr. in the backfield do their thing. And Jameis Winston, again, throws for less than 150 yards in a win. Jameis Winston efficient. And for Mac Jones, as a Patriots fan, I'm not worried. Not worried at all. This happens with rookie quarterbacks. And did you see what the Saints defense did to a guy named Rodgers? Mac Jones will be fine. Maybe not this next week, but he will be fine. I'm counting on it.
One of the games of the week that happened right here in our own city. The Kansas City Chiefs went up against the Los Angeles Chargers. What an unbelievable game. What an unbelievable finish in Arrowhead. But it was the actual Chargers that prevailed in the end, winning 30-24, knocking the Chiefs all the way down to last place in the AFC West, something we never thought we'd be saying 3 weeks into the season. An absolute dominant performance by Mike Williams. Justin Herbert, he's the real deal. I think we can officially say he's the real deal. Keenan Allen getting involved. An absolute doomsday by the Chiefs defense. Chiefs also doomed by their turnovers. We know what their offense can do, but they can't turn the ball over. And then in the end, there was obviously some questionable officiating in that game. But in the end, it's the Chargers who were able to prevail.
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't have gone worse. So you had the turnover to end the game the week before. Then you open this game with 3 straight turnovers, 4 total for the day. I mean, it just couldn't have gone off to a worse start for the Chiefs. And then, I mean, just ugly football. The defense can't stop anything. Mahomes threw 2 interceptions. Granted, one was probably one that should have gotten caught, but like at the same time, like he didn't throw any in September in the previous part of his career. Now he has this. He's lost twice in September now. I mean, it's just a rough start, but I'm sure they'll turn it around. There was a pass interference, snafu, possessions, but Chiefs expect better and should be better. You can't be losing at home the way they have.
Yeah. And keep in mind, I mean, the first one was on the road, so I mean, they've only lost 1 home game. But, yeah, definitely the Chiefs got to get something figured out. Side note, they did go out and add Josh Gordon, who's now been reinstated by the NFL. Don't know how that helps you on defense in any way, but
maybe we'll just outscore them like the Rams game, the classic Rams game.
Yeah, I don't know how much that method's going to work, but we'll see. We'll see. Also, prayers up to Andy Reid, and it sounds like he's out of the hospital now, so get healthy, Big Red. Over to our next game, you had the Atlanta Falcons going up against the New York Giants on Eli Manning Day. Just an utter disappointment by the New York Giants. I mean, they had the game won. I don't know how in the world. They have now found a way. They've fallen to 0-3 after having the lead in all 3 of their games. Last week, more specifically, really blew it against Washington. Now fall to 0-3. The Falcons finally got something positive to say about their season after 2 duds to start their year. They looked pretty competitive against the Bucs, and then in the end, it did not go their way. But Young Ho walks it off with the game winner, wins 17-14.
Not a ton to say in this game. I'm just gonna be honest. These were 2 not very good teams who played a football game that was not very good. Of course, game time touchdown catch by Lee Smith, the guy we all expected for the Falcons.
Oh yeah.
What a day. I really want to talk about what happened afterwards, though. It's a hilarious Twitter interaction between a Giants fan who's questioning why Kenny Galladay's not getting more targets. I think Kenny Galladay's mother responded, and she called him a dumb female dog, really misinterpreting that Giants fan who just wants her son to get more targets than Colin Johnson, who they picked up off free agency. That's all they want. Nobody's happy in New York right now. New York football's in the trash. They got the Yankees in October, but outside of that, New York, man. It's a sad time. It's a sad time. I'm happy for you, Atlanta. You deserve this one.
Yeah, Atlanta needed something. Also, the Pittsburgh Steelers need something because the way they're going, this is not ending well. Had a home loss to the Raiders last week. got another home loss, this time by way of division rivals Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow getting his first ever road win. Ben Roethlisberger just looks absolutely terrible. There was one video of him falling over after handing the ball off with no one around him. It's just not looking good. They look old. The offense is terrible, which I don't know how you have all those offensive weapons and can be this bad. The Steelers are just struggling just all over the place. But, hey, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, got to love the combination.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow has had a rough start to the year. It seems like he's found his stride. Having a teammate, Jamar Chase, former teammate from LSU out there seems to help. Big Ben, man, he looks like he should have retired. But it doesn't help that he threw the ball 58 times, almost 60 times. You got to do him some favors. You got to limit how many times he's throwing the ball. I know you fall behind, but they didn't do him any favors by making him go out there and try to throw his way to a victory. Because imagine him next week now after throwing 60 passes, essentially. His arm's going to be hurting. He's already elderly. It's going to be a long season for Steelers fans, but hopefully a really good one for Bengals fans.
Yeah, now Cincinnati is definitely trending in the right direction. A game that I think hardly any one of us watched, but we all know what happened in the game. The Denver Broncos up against the terrible, terrible Jets. For now, I don't want to bring karma upon myself. My team does play them next. But they were terrible in this game, losing 26-0. An absolute dominant performance by the Broncos defense. Zach Wilson just cannot make the right plays. The offensive line can't make the blocks. The receivers can't make the catches. It's just all downhill for the Jets right now. And the Broncos, 3-0, sitting atop of the AFC West right along with the Raiders.
Yeah, the Broncos are 3-0. They've beat 3 0-3 teams, but you got to get the wins where you can take them. So can't knock the Broncos for winning all their games. We'll wait till this next week when they play the Ravens before I make any determination on who the Broncos really are. For the Jets, I have to bash New York again. I said all your football is terrible, and somehow the Giants aren't even the worst team in the city. Man, I feel bad for Zach Wilson. This guy went to BYU. It's just so hard to watch. I had to watch it with the Patriots last week. Monte got to enjoy it this week. Things are not going good for Mr. Wilson.
Nope, it is not. They are struggling right now. A team that is trending high, though, on the complete opposite spectrum. How about the Las Vegas Raiders? Who would have saw it coming? 3-0 to start this season. They've won 2 games in insane, dramatic fashion. They had the lead, blew it. It looked like the Dolphins were going to go in and possibly have a chance to win after the Raiders got held to a field goal in overtime. But no, it was Derek Carr and his magic again late on the deep ball, the guy who leads the league in passing yards at the moment, finding a way to get his team to a victory, minus Josh Jacobs, I might add in. But I do have to give a shout-out to Jacoby Brissett and the way he managed that offense, gave the Dolphins a chance, kept them competitive in the game, while Tua Tagovailoa is currently injured. So you got to give him credit there. But, man, the Raiders keep finding ways.
Yeah, I mean, they look really good this year. We still won't know much about the Raiders till we see if they have their predictable second season, half of the season collapse that they seem to always have. But 3-0, you can't argue with. I mean, Carr just finds a way to get it done every time it feels like there's a game-winning drive on the line. I mean, the Dolphins had their opportunities. They had a 4th and 1 they couldn't convert. They missed a field goal. They gave up a safety. I mean, they had their opportunities, but Jacoby Brissett hero balled it to get the 8 points to tie it to force overtime. He even scored in overtime, but man, the Raiders just wouldn't be denied. Back-to-back field goals in overtime, and they take home the win. They go undefeated, tied for first in the AFC West. It's going to be an interesting division.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The AFC West is going to be, it's going to be fun. We're only 3 weeks in, and we gain a game this year. This is going to be awesome. A game that was not so awesome for our man Toby here was the NFL game of the week, or the Fox game of the week, rather, between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams got off to a very hot start. I mean, they looked really, really good. I mean, so many different receivers, so many different weapons. Deshaun Jackson making a resurrection from the grave. Where has he been at the last couple of seasons? All of a sudden now he's just dusting everybody. Bucs clearly needed some help on defense. I mean, the offense was clearly not the problem for the Bucs on this Sunday. Their defense and inability to guard anybody was clearly an issue. But how about this? Sean McVay has never lost a game when leading at halftime. So the Rams, when they come firing out of the gate, they find ways to win.
Yeah, now that's front running right there. And I think it applies to the season too. I said before the year that this was my NFC Championship preview. I think both teams really showed it. The Bucs are going to get help. The defense is going to get better. I'm not concerned about the Bucs. Brady throws for 430, still loses. You never like to see. And early nod to it, MVP Stafford. We knew the Rams would be better when he came over from Detroit, but I did not think that the offense was going to pop off this much. Every game it feels like this guy throws 4 touchdown passes. Just the Rams, they're the best team in football after 3 weeks. There's my take.
I would have to agree. They look good. They look really, really good. Really good. A team that I don't know if they're good or not, the Minnesota Vikings. I just can't get a feel for them because they did all the success they had without their best player on Sunday. They beat the Seattle Seahawks 30-17, a Seahawks team that was giving the Titans all they could before Tennessee came back and won a thriller in overtime. Then went over to Minnesota and laid an absolute egg. I don't know what happened with the Seattle offense, but clearly not what you want. And then the Minnesota Vikings putting up 30 points. Kirk Cousins hasn't thrown an interception in, I think, over 200 passes now, which is the longest current active streak. So I'm not a big Kirk Cousins fan, but I got to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, Kirk's been killing it this year. He's been pretty much the Kirk Cousins that Vikings fans had expected when they first signed him. Already off to 8 touchdowns, no picks. And look, they were a missed field goal, a missed chip shot field goal almost, and a overtime fumble away from being 3-0 with 2 big road wins against the Bengals and Cardinals. So I don't even think they know what kind of team they are yet. But I mean, this game wasn't even close. The Vikings scored, I think it was 23 unanswered points. I mean, it just, from start to finish, I guess not start to finish, but second hit 17-7, it was Vikings all the way. Seahawks struggled to move the ball at all. It'll be interesting to follow them and see what they can do this year, and the Seahawks will be fine. They're just in a very tough division.
Yeah, well, they got to get to division play because they haven't even started yet, and it's not looking good right now. But a team that is in their division who had the win, but oh boy, they left too much time on the clock. We're talking about the San Francisco 49ers. They unfortunately were not able to get it done against the Green Bay Packers. Packers winning that one 30-28. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. What an absolute duo. 18 targets to Devontae Adams in that game, and which is just absolutely insane. The next highest target was 4 to Lazard. So that shows you what the Packers have in mind moving forward, going with their offense. We can see absolute thriller of a game. 49ers cannot manage the clock well. Obviously, it's hard to tell a guy to not score when you have a touchdown. But 37 seconds, no timeouts, still too much time for Aaron Rodgers. Able to complete 2 huge passes to Devontae Adams to set up a nice 51-yard field goal for Mason Crosby, who walks it off in grand fashion.
This is one of those games that reminds you how much you love football, because this game had absolutely everything. The Packers jump out to a huge lead. Everybody on NFL Twitter wants Trey Lance to come in and replace Jimmy G. Trey Lance does come in, scores the touchdown at the end of the half. You say, okay, maybe this will be a game. I don't think anybody thought the 49ers were going to take the lead into the second half. Kyle Juszczyk, of course, the fullback, scoring the touchdown. It's going crazy down there in Santa Clara. But as Gannon said, there's just too much time on the clock. Aaron Rodgers, he's been known to do it. And if you're the 49ers, along with your clock management skills, snapping the ball with 12 seconds left on that touchdown play, on the play clock, that is, maybe even more so than that, probably cover 17. Yeah. Kind of knew who he was going to go to, right? 18 targets, as Gannon said. Probably should have known a little bit better, but you can't take anything away from 12, from 17. And, of course, Mason Crosby, who's been a Packer since we were born, delivers in the clutch. And it was so awesome. The post-game scenes were awesome, even though the road team won. Just one of those games that reminded you how much you could love football. Fast forward 24 hours for our guy Gannon, and he was reminded of just how painful football could be. In that Monday night game, the Cowboys, home opener, Dak Prescott comes back, returns to the field where he had his season ended last year around this time, put on a show. It's time for Gannon to put on a little show of his own. Why don't you tell us how you feel about this NFC East clash?
Now listen, you got to give credit where credit is due, and I'm a firm believer that two things can be true. That rhyme. The Cowboys, obviously, we know, are very explosive on offense. Even with Michael Gallup out, they have Tony Pollard's really starting to make a name for himself. They're getting the tight ends more involved. CeeDee Lamb is being exactly what they hoped for. Amari Cooper was a bit of a no-so last night, but we still know he's big time. That defense is starting to really step up, and more specifically, Trayvon Diggs is really, really becoming really good. I thought he was a little bit all hype because they were hyping him up. They wanted him to be good, and somehow he was on everybody's highlight tape last year. Well, now he's making his own highlight tape. With that being said, as good as the Cowboys were, the Eagles, I just don't understand the game plan. They didn't run the ball in any way, shape, or form. Miles Sanders basically was on a bye week. They did not run well enough plays given the quarterback, the type of quarterback they have. It was more of everyone just run away, run deep, and then Jalen Hurts just take off and use your legs to scramble. I don't really understand the game plan. You have two really good tight ends. I just do not think that they put Jalen Hurts nor that offense in the best position to win. Also, they have got to force feed the ball to Devontae Smith. What did you draft the guy for if you're not going to draw up plays to get him specifically the ball? So I think the Cowboys did obviously a great job exploiting that, but I think the Eagles contributed heavily by a terrible game plan, especially offensively.
Call it like it is.
Yes, sir.
You got to prove yourself, Sirianni. You got to prove yourself to your fans.
Yeah. You know what Gannon's doing out there. He provided some defense for what he could. When you give the ball back to the Cowboys offense every 2 seconds, it's hard for your defense to get stops. But we know what Gannon's doing out there. Defensive coordinator for the Eagles. Yeah, we know what Gannon's putting in work.
At least Gannon likes to think so.
You know, it's a fun little tidbit of NFL information.
What's that?
We mentioned that the Bears had 1 yard of offense.
Mm-hmm.
Mitchell Trubisky had 1 yard of offense. The Bears still rely on Mitchell Trubisky. They do what he does.
They're just mirroring his production.
He's still there.
That is tough. Well, that's rough. Well, we're gonna wrap up this week's episode, or this episode, with let's quickly list out who our Power 5 or our top 5 are in the NFL. Toby and I gave ours a couple weeks ago at the end of week 1. We didn't make one last week, so I'll quickly rattle off my 5. I think based on what I've seen so far, I mean, there's just a couple that just stand out on the league of their own. Right now, the Los Angeles Rams, easily number 1 for me. They've just been on another level. number 2, I have the Arizona Cardinals. Just slightly behind them. I mean, those two teams have just been on a rampage. Number 3, I gotta give it to the Raiders. The Raiders, they're finding ways to win. I can't explain it. On paper, I don't think they're better than quite a few teams. But right now, what they're doing, the quarterback is leading the league. Number 3 for me. Number 4, I still have, in my heart of hearts, I believe, the Kansas City Chiefs. Tough game. Even though they've lost 2 games, I still have to put them in there. I think that they'll get this defense shored up, and they'll be right back to where they are. And number 5 is Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I haven't been too harsh on the teams that lost because I think that they'll get it figured out. But those are my 5 teams right now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I gotta, since it's power rankings, right? It's not who I think's gonna be at the end of the season the best. I have to leave the Chiefs out of mine at the moment, even though I love them. I don't think they could beat everybody right now. But I mean, I have to put the Rams at 1. I mean, they just look like world beaters right now. I also have the Raiders at 2. The Cardinals are at 3 for me. And then I put the Panthers at 4. They haven't lost yet. They haven't necessarily played the toughest of competitions yet, but they haven't lost yet. So I got to keep them there. The Broncos aren't at 5 for me, even though they're undefeated, because they haven't played a team that's won a game yet. I mean,
that's why they were not top 5 either.
Yeah, we don't know what they are yet. But then actually for 5, I decided to put the Buccaneers. They only lost 1 game. It was against the team that I have number 1 on these power rankings. So I think they're still probably going to be the main threat out of the national NFC. Sorry, I got baseball in my brain because go Cardinals. But yeah, out of the NFC.
Yeah, we're consensus. Rams look like the best team right now. I still have the Buccaneers as my number 2 team at the current moment. I think the Rams would have beat anybody just like that had they gone in there. I think they beat any team like that. So I'm not moving the Bucs down. I know who the Bucs are. They're my number 2 team. I am going to go Cardinals at 3, like what I've seen. I believe they've had a different receiver, by the way, lead the team in receiving every week.
I'm telling you.
Because I think it went Hopkins, Moore, Kirk,
AJ.
and AJ Green. So just the amount of weapons. Love what the Cardinals are doing. Shout out Coach Kingsbury. A lot of people wondered if he could do it. I believe in him. Then I'm going to go a different route. I know a lot of people, they like the Raiders. At my number 4, I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills the last 2 weeks have been unbelievable. I think we forgot about them a little bit in that week 1 debacle against Pittsburgh where the offense couldn't get anything going. Look, Pittsburgh's defense is not a problem. They really lost, if you go back and think about it, on a blocked punt that was returned for a touchdown. TJ Watt, of course, was playing for the Steelers in that game. Makes a massive difference. I love what the Bills have done these last 2. At 5, honestly, it's sort of a flip a coin for me between the Raiders and the Browns. I think the Browns are a better team. This is a power ranking. Raiders are 5. They haven't lost. Raiders will get my 5. All said, I think the Browns are a better team, but it's like the MLB. They just put out all the teams with the best standings. Said this is our power ranking.
Yeah, that was dumb.
Yeah,
not for me.
Yeah,
this is
That's
how
why I
they
respect it.
This is how they've looked through 3 weeks.
That's
to be the
true.
Raiders at 5.
Because I kind of mixed mine. So if we're going that, then I'm fine with putting the Bucs 4 and then having the Bills 5. Because then the Chiefs would be still. I mean, the Chiefs would still be in my top 10, even though they've lost 2 games.
I just don't know how I feel about the Bills. I have week 5 penciled in on my calendar. Bills, Chiefs. We'll learn a lot. That week 1 loss was not ideal because the Steelers aren't. I mean, they're not bad. Like Toby said, they're not bad, but they're not a team you should really be losing to. And I don't know. I want them to see a little more out of this week.
Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of it. Like we're just going based off of what they look through 3 games. There's going to be so much more movement up and down. I mean, I had Seattle after week 1 in my top 5, and they're nowhere near that anymore. So, I mean, there's plenty of plenty of movement coming up. But that'll do it for our Week 3 wrap-up. I want to thank you guys for listening. Of course, now there's going to be a lot more videos coming out now since we're kind of breaking it up per segment or per league. So definitely look for all of that. Again, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We have all 3 of those, and we'll be very active on those profiles. So definitely stay tuned. You guys have a great night.